What does the 1945 movie Detour and Season 1, Episode 2 of Columbo have in common? I contend they're both film noir. That's right, everyone's favorite bumbling detective may have meandered his way into that august genre. But what is film noir? Is it a genre? Is it a style? Unlike Sam Spade, I don't have any quick answers. So I turned to a website called No Film School to see what they had to say about the matter. I found them to be informative in the past, and they didn't disappoint. They had an article with a graphic which breaks down the elements of film noir to some extent. Some of the principal elements chosen to represent noir are as follows. Investigator, a man of relative integrity. Criminal, usually a murderer. Woman 1, bad and beautiful. I've seen her elsewhere called the Spider-Woman. Woman 2, good, but bland. I've had a teacher who referred to this type of woman as the good wife. Dark and oppressive lighting, heavy drinking or smoking. Complex and or far-fetched plot. I would add the following to that list. Quippy or hard-boiled dialogue.
I assume our guest has arrived?
Yes, sir, but Mr. Kennicott isn't here yet.
Well, he's not due for another 30 seconds.
Framing devices, and unusual camera angles, such as low or high camera angles. Before we dive into the specifics, however, let's briefly recap the Columbo episode in question, Death Lends a Hand. Even the name sounds like an old dime novel. In this episode, the wife of a newspaper owner cheated on her husband, who in turn became suspicious and hired a private detective firm to follow her. The head of the firm, Brimmer, told the husband that his wife was faithful, though he knew she wasn't. And then he tried to blackmail the wife into getting privileged information from her husband and giving it to him as a favor for his silence. The wife comes to Brimmer's house to refuse his demand, but she hints she will expose Brimmer's blackmail attempt to her husband, and in a fit of anger, Brimmer accidentally kills her. The lady's husband, already being acquainted with Brimmer, then hires him to find out what happened to his wife, while the police lieutenant Columbo follows his own line of reasoning. In the end, Columbo tells Brimmer he thinks the lady's contact lens is at the place where she was killed. And when Brimmer can't find the lens at his house, he hurries to search the trunk of his car. It was a ploy by Columbo. Brimmer's caught and the episode ends. There's a complex and far-fetched plot, so we can check that one off our list. The criminal is a murderer, albeit an unintentional one.
It wasn't premeditated.
And the woman killed would come as close as the episode gets to a femme fatale, though she doesn't seduce anyone. While by 1971, the code is not the prodigious edifice it once was in the 40s, and so themes such as infidelity are discussed much more frankly than they could have been in that era, we still see that the woman's immorality must be somehow punished. And, as with Phyllis in Double Indemnity, we find she pays with her life. One could certainly question Columbo's integrity, as he implies he sabotaged Brimmer's car so that they could trap Brimmer, and he lies about the dead woman having lost a contact lens, also to trap Brimmer. Hardly above-board conduct for a police lieutenant. Woman 2, or the good wife, is the wife of one of Brimmer's top men. She is portrayed as the typical suburban housewife and doesn't seem to know what her husband really does for a living. She can only say that he's been ordered out of town on business. But what I, and I think most people, immediately think of when they hear film noir is the stark lighting. People with only half their face lit, and rooms and backgrounds almost completely obscured in shadow. A picture's worth 1,000 words, though, so here are some examples of those more visual elements in the episode, as well as the various framing devices and odd camera angles used. If we desaturate the image, the stylistic similarities with the black and white noirs of yore become even starker. It is the stylistic similarities, combined with the fact that it meets so many of the other criteria, that put it over the top for me, and lead me to conclude that this is more than just a run-of-the-mill detective television show episode. With a runtime of 1 hour and 15 minutes, which is even longer than Detour, this is a film noir.